Thoughts on a Cardano virtual machine? Starstream. What are your views on tariffs? So the Libertarian Party certainly hates them. Um, it depends on market dynamics. Tariffs are a tool that all nations use to regulate commerce when they feel that commerce in some ways is asymmetrical and unfair to the development of their markets. So here's an example. Let's say you got two steel mills, one in America, let's say one in India. And let's say the one in America, they have to compete fairly. They have union workers, they have expensive electricity, they have expensive energy, so fuel costs to move stuff into the steel mill, and expensive shipping. Let's say in India, the government says this is a strategic interest, so we're going to give those guys free or subsidized power, low cost diesel, and huge wage arbitrage because they're ununionized and they're paid 1/10 the price. All things being equal, if I'm in the construction business, which I am, if the steel is the same output, the quality is the same, why would I pay 2 to 3 times as much money for the American steel over the Indian steel? So the government has two options. One option is to make the Indian steel more expensive. The other option is to make the American steel cheaper. Now, we've done a lot of the second historically. Massive increases in efficiency, and we can do things with 100 people that some people can't do with 5,000 people. But even after you've done all that, there's still going to be irregularities because in some cases, the governments will actually just subsidize their businesses to run at a loss. So what you do is you put a tariff on, it normalizes the prices. If people keep buying those foreign products, it does create revenue for the government. And if people realize they don't want to pay those prices, they switch over to the American products, and it onshores our industry. It creates an American-based industry. So the society has to decide what are strategic industries: steel manufacturing, concrete production, microchip manufacturing, so fab facilities, biotechnology facilities. You got to label your strategic interest technologies that employ a lot of people, and the government has to decide what degree of relationship do we want to have with them. Do we want to subsidize them or do we want to tariff their competitors? Trump's hypothesis is that trade is asymmetrical and it's not benefiting us at the moment. There are some countries where we don't charge a tariff to buy their things, and they charge a tariff for us to buy, for their people to buy our stuff. That's a problem. So at the very least, that needs to be balanced. And then second, we have to have a national conversation about what do we feel in 2025 is a strategic interest industry, and what do we want to do to protect those workers in that industry, and what relationships do we want to have? And this government has been notoriously bad, our government in general, over the last 20 years of labeling those things. There's no greater example of that than Tesla. So you have Biden say that electric cars are the future and they're a key component to solving global warming. And we, the American people, need to invest in them and subsidize them. But we don't like the politics of the guy who founded the one that controls 75% of the market. So we're going to exclude them from that conversation. What are you broadcasting to the American people when you don't invite Tesla to the White House to be at your battery car convention and you don't want to give them subsidies, but you give everybody else subsidies? That it's not about the industry and its strategic interest to the United States. It's about your politics. And if we agree or disagree with your politics, and if we agree with them, you get money, you get your Solyndra. If you disagree with them, then we harm you and investigate the CEO. Tariffs are at least a little bit more fair because they're apolitical. Tariffs benefit universally the entire industry that has to compete with these subsidized jurisdictions. So every American steel producer, every American manufacturer will benefit equally from this because they're more competitive in the price scheme now versus the other stuff. So you're not picking and choosing winners and losers. And when you help industry, you tend to pick and choose winners and losers. And that's a sore spot for me because I've seen where that can go wrong. And it's really hard to make that fair.